Okay, everyone. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Ami Feiner from Provision-ISR, and together with me is Ilan Komorovsky from our pre-sale department. And today we're going to talk about cybersecurity. This webinar is about 40 to 45 minutes long. If you have any question in between, write them on the chat and we'll ask at the end of it, and we'll open the mics as well, and you can ask away at the end. A little bit about this seminar that we prepared for you. As you know, Provision-ISR is cooperating with Checkpoint about cybersecurity, but this is not seminar about the cooperation between Provision-ISR and Checkpoint. Checkpoint is one layer of cybersecurity in Provision-ISR, and we've been asked many times by you and by installers is to provide more insight, more knowledge about cybersecurity in general. What kind of threats we might have in cybersecurity? How does Provision-ISR address those threats? We're going to use many terminologies in the cybersecurity world. It's a bit technical. We tried to the best that we can, as always, to keep it simple. But we're going to cover quite a lot of topics in cybersecurity and how Provision-ISR address any one of those problems, topics in cybersecurity. Checkpoint being one layers of it, and we're going to talk about that as well. But we have about 12 more other topics covered for you. So let's start and sit back and enjoy it. And let's get some knowledge. Ilan, let's start.
Thank you. So I'm going to replace what you're doing.
Sorry,
just a
Ami,
sec.
I'm not too sure if you started recording.
I have started recording, yes. Yes.
Okay, so can you see my screen?
Ilan, have you shared your audio as well?
Yes.
Great.
Although we don't need audio for this specific presentation, just in one occasion, we'll just need it.
Okay, let's start.
Okay, but you can see my screen, correct?
Yes, we.
Okay, perfect. So hello, everyone. So as Ami already explained, we have this presentation covering different topics, and this presentation could be used for marketing reasons as well, to explain better some topics related to cybersecurity. And we are going to begin with a menu, a list, what we're going to talk about. So I would like to display it in a form of some kind of pyramid. We're going to talk about different topics. There are going to be about 12 topics, and eventually we're going to touch the checkpoint, which is the topic we are going to enhance more on the cybersecurity aspects. Okay, so this is a list of different topics we're going to cover, and let's begin with the first one. So the first one is the topic we are going to talk is hard drive encryption. So if you are willing to protect your hard drive, your recordings, and make sure that even if somebody is going to extract it in the future from the NVR or DVR and can be used against you as evidence and extract some information, you can actually encrypt the information in this hard drive. And while it is recorded, it's already going to be encrypted. Okay, so it means that if you're talking about stealing the hard drive itself, then it cannot be used later on in some other NVR or DVR. So if you will ask me how exactly it's done, so let's see a short video regarding the whole process. So we're talking about getting into configuration of the NVR or DVR, it doesn't matter, the same, going to the settings, disk management and disk management again, and we can see that our current hard drive is not encrypted, it's decrypted, okay? So it's not fully protected, and we want to protect it. So we click on encrypt data below, and then we need to apply some password that you want to encrypt this hard drive with. Please try to use some complicated password, okay? So it will not be easier to retrieve it. Okay, so I'm making sure that I'm using some kind of password with some unique characters. And when I click on encrypt data, this is a critical request from the NVR. So I need to make sure that I'm admin on this NVR or DVR. And when I supply my credentials, I actually can encrypt my hard drive. So it's in the same level of as formatting your hard drive. When you're asking for such a command, you need to make sure that the NVR is going to make sure that you actually admin on it. So again, once the operation is finished, you can see that your hard drive is now encrypted, okay? So this is topic number one. Topic number two, we're talking about the strengths of your passwords, of your credentials. So usually in the past, we've been using more weak passwords. So once we start operating with a checkpoint, they forced us to start using only strong passwords. So it means that you can use only a minimum length of the password is going to be 8 characters, and it's going to include at least one uppercase, or it could, and it will require some special character like tilde and at, dollar, and etc. Okay. Now you can choose a policy, so it could be either strong or it could be stronger password. So it depends on the level of security in your organization. So in stronger, it means that you can ask the users to have at least 10 characters. So it's increasing the time it requires to break into the device using some random passwords. So this is another policy that you can apply. And on top of it, you can define expiration time. So every 100 or 30 days or 90 days, according to what you define here, you can force user to change his password. So in case somebody will know his password, it will be forced to change after this amount of time. Okay, so this is another thing that you can define as a policy inside your NVR. Next one. We're talking about double verification. So in a recent version we just released of the NVR 1.4.12, we have an option to define that there are 2 users that needs to be used, user accounts to be used to open the NVR and get access to the NVR. So it means that you can define this kind of situation where you have 2 users that are defined here for double verification. And if one person, for example, some guard in a shift, he wants to open the NVR and start monitoring the site, he will need his superior to log in with him and to give him the access to this NVR. So this could be like another level of security, and specific organization might be needed. Okay, so the next topic is security access. The animation takes time. So security access, we're talking about a new level of accessing your NVRs. So the current problem is that when you're using your CAM2 application to access your NVR or your cloud website, our cloud website to access NVR, as long as you have serial number of this device and you have user and password, you can get in and you can do whatever is needed, okay? But if you want to make sure that only allowed people that you actually allow them the access, you want them to get access to this NVR, you can do some new operations that was enabled in our previous version of NVR 1.4.10, which is called security access. So there is a small checkbox that you can find in NAT interface where you have the cloud connection, and there this checkbox enables you to work in more secure way. So it means that only people who are linked to this device, to this NVR, will be able to access this. So let's see it in graphical way. So without security access configuration, this checkbox is not enabled. You could access the NVR using 3 methods. So one could be a CAM2 application, just scan QR code of this NVR and use a user and password and you are inside. The other method could be a binding. So you could be binding your CAM2 user to this specific NVR, and then you can share this NVR to other users, up to 5 additional users, okay? And the last one, you can use the cloud website to enter this NVR. So you just need the serial number of the device and you need user and password. Okay. So those were the three methods that you can use to access the NVR itself. Now, this is yet without security access checkbox. Now, when I'm going to change this from without to with, we're going to see some small change. So with security access, when it's on, any user that was just using serial number and user and password to access this NVR, for example, you had like many people watching a kindergarten, like some parents watching over what's going on in this kindergarten. Those people that were using just a user and password are going to be thrown away. Okay, they will not be able to access this NVR anymore using this specific method. Okay, because security access checkbox is now on. Okay, so this connection is going to be disconnected. And the binding is going to work exactly as the same way as previously. So it could be head of a committee who is deciding which parents can access this NVR, and he's going to share the access to the NVR using this secure access. Okay, so now nothing is going to change this specific scenario. But if there is going to be a technician trying to access this NVR to do some support, then when he's going to try to do it from the cloud or cloud website, then he's going to be required for some specific password or code. Okay, and you as the user will need to generate this code. You will need to provide it to this technician, so he will be able to access this NVR. So if you ask me how exactly it's going to work, or it's actually working from a previous version, so this is me trying to access NVR, okay? And on this NVR, we have the secured access checkbox on. So I'm trying to get inside from the cloud website. And the owner of this NVR, who is bound to this specific NVR, is getting a small push notification, login request, okay? Now, when he's going to open this message, he will see a code. So this is the code that he needs to supply me as a technician. So I'll be able to access it. Okay. So once I see that the code is here, I get the code from whatever WhatsApp, email. I can use this code, and I have just 1.5 minutes, or actually 2.5 minutes to get this code inside. So I will need to supply it here, and then I can log in into this NVR. Okay, so this is instead of using user and password, because now the owner of the NVR wants to monitor who is accessing his NVR. Okay, next topic, brute force lock. So this is something we had for a long time, and we just want to make sure that you know what we are talking about in this case. So we are talking about a hacker who is trying to access the camera or the NVR, and he's using some common used passwords, and he's running some kind of script. So this script is trying every second or 5 seconds or 10 seconds, depending on his configuration. He's trying to do this penetration using those passwords. Okay. Now he might even use the correct password, but the problem is that we have a lock mechanism, which means that every time that he's trying 5 different attempts with the wrong password, there's going to be a lock. So this is going to lock the device, locking the NVR or camera is going to lock it for 5 minutes and 10 minutes. So it's going to be increasing every time, double time, okay, exponentially. And therefore, he is very limited in trying and accessing this device, because he is limited by the slots of time he is capable of using those passwords. So again, even if he has a correct password in his list, there might be a scenario that he is going to miss his slot and the script is going to fall inside this waiting time. Okay, so this is a brute force lock protection. This is what we're talking about, protecting your accessing attempts to the NVR or the camera. Next one, let's talk about protection by the IP and MAC addresses. So if we have some devices that are trying to access the camera or the NVR, we can prevent it. We can just restrict and create a table of block and whitelists. So it's basically very easy to find inside the NVR and inside the camera. So you have either enable or a block list. So it could be either one or the other one. You cannot have like 2 lists. you can just create a list of those devices and say that those devices have no ability to access this NVR or the camera. Okay, so you just choose which one of them you want to enable, and then you create a list of those devices below, and then you know that only this list of devices can or cannot connect to my NVR or to my camera. Okay, so this is the same goes about the camera itself. So when you get into the web interface of the camera, you can see that you have here a block and a low list list that you can create, and then you can protect your device even more. Next one, let's talk about HTTP and HTTPS. So for those who do not know what does it mean, it means that even if you have communication between your NVR or your camera from your computer, somebody can intercept this information and sniff it, and therefore he's going to see the textual information in between the communication of the device and your computer. Okay, so it exposes you, and this hacker can see everything. He can see the username, passwords, and all the information. And again, this is textual information when you're trying to access web interface of this device. So the solution for this problem is to use HTTPS protocol. So you just need to enable it, and then it's going to use some SSL and TSL encryption, and therefore the information that he is going to see, even if he's going to sniff this channel, he's going to see some scrambled and readable text. Okay, so this is going to protect this kind of communication. So again, anytime you're going to use a connection to those devices, enable HTTPS, and then you're going to be more protected. Okay, and again, I'm talking only about the accessing the device from the web interface when you want to configure it. So where do I do it? You go to the network configuration, and inside HTTPS, you have a tab which is called HTTPS. You can enable it. And if you want to protect your device and disable the HTTP, then you can even turn off the HTTP communication protocol at all. Okay, so it's going to be only on the HTTPS level. For those of you who are working with our API, in case of API, you actually need to enable HTTP because API is using HTTP connection. Next. So we had some requests from very high-level secured organizations to use a certificate, SSL certificate, which we're talking about HTTP communication. And in this case, you can use your own SSL certificate. So for that, we have an ability inside NVR or in the camera to have our own SSL certificate. So you can import or generate your own SSL certificate, then you will be protected by your own certificate that you will use for HTTPS communication. Next one, RTSP. So RTSP, we're talking about projecting your camera information when you want to see some remote location. You can use RTSP protocol and for example, on some live stream or like a TV set where you have some player that can get this RTSP communication. So the problem of securing this kind of communication is that when this RTSP streaming is broadcasted, then some hacker can intercept this communication and sniff it and listen to it, and basically he will be able to see this video streaming. So inside our NVR, we have a solution that is defining that RTSP will be protected. So it could be different protection, could be basic or digest, which is a high level. And so just a second, sorry, I have some internal problem. Yeah, I think I resolved it. Okay. So what we have here is that we have an ability to protect our RTSP communication by using digest encryption and authentication, which means that it's going to be using MD5 protection to encrypt our passwords, and then our protection of RTSP is going to be in a higher level. Okay. Now, even if this communication is going to be intercepted, the video stream itself is encrypted. So again, this is the way you can protect your RTSP communication. Now, by default, you need to know that RTSP is turned off. Okay, so only if you're willing to transmit this information from your camera, then you will need to enable it. Next one, we're talking about 802.1x network security. We're talking about enabling specific devices to connect to your network. So if you have a network where and you want to make sure that only approved devices will be able to access this network on a level of MAC addresses on level 2, then you will need to define that a specific list of devices that can actually get into your network. So there is a specific device called radius, which is making sure that only listed devices can actually access. So even if somebody is going to connect to our switch, he will not be able to see the network because there is a specific server which is checking that the only approved devices can access this network. Okay, so the security server is going to do this operation, and we have a solution inside our NVR that supports this kind of certificate, 802.1 certificate, and it comes with 2 levels of security. So if you are going to open our NVR, and you will find this in a network in advanced configuration, in all the different networks configurations, you will find a tab of this network security, and you will be able to choose which one of protection methods you want to use. The MD5 is a little bit older way, and we have now released a new one, which is TLS, which is the strongest security. So in some very secured environments like banks, you need to use this kind of security level. Otherwise, your device, your computer, or anything else, or NVR in this case, will not be able to access the network, will not be able to work at all inside this closed network. Next one, we're going to talk about ARP poisoning. So ARP poisoning is basically, before we're getting to talk about the ARP poisoning itself, we need to understand what is ARP. ARP is basically a table of all the devices inside your network. So if you run a command to see who is in my network, you will be able to see a list of IP addresses. And on the right side, you will be able to see all the MAC addresses of those devices. Now, the problem is that this protocol is pretty old, and any device can post this kind of list, and then he can disrupt the local network, okay? So what can be happening is that somebody is trying to hack into the network, so he is going to send this list of devices, and then devices that are already inside the network will start thinking that there is a replacement for a router, for example, okay? So this is a stepping stone for the more severe attacks, like man in the middle and session hijacking. So we're talking about, this is like the beginning of the real attack, okay? Now, how does it work? So basically, some kind of device which is trying to simulate that he is, for example, a router, he's saying, I am the device that you're supposed to communicate with, okay? So, animation, please. So he's saying, I'm the router, so this is my MAC address, so you need to start talking with me instead of the router we had before. So for the hacking, for this kind of poisoning of our table, you actually need to do the next. You need to be close to the original device, like router, and you need to overwhelm it, like run a big list of pings, or actually disable this device. We will be able to replace it and simulate the connection with your device instead of the original one. Now, once we understand the problem and what needs to be done for the device to simulate another device, what we need to understand is how we resolve the situation from a Provision-ISR level. So what you need to do is to get into our NVR, and then you have here a network security level. And here you can define that you want to define the specific devices that are going to be ARP protected. Like, for example, a router. So you're going to define that there are specific IP addresses that and the MAC that are always listed. So even if somebody is going to try and get into this communication and send that there is a new MAC address instead of the other one, and he's going to say start communicating with me instead of the router because I have exactly the same IP address, then VR is going to detect it, because this guard meaning that it's always listening to this kind of communication. And if there is going to be some weird device that is going to appear in the network and is going to post a new list of ARP devices, this is going to be intercepted and blocked. Okay, so we are talking about this is another way of guarding your device. And of course, you can enable HTTPS communication for better security. Now, again, so if you have NVR trying to talk with the router, then everything is okay. But once there is a new device popping up in the network and he's saying, I'm a new router and I'm using exactly the same IP address, then it's going to be blocked because we have ARP guarding this specific IP address and the MAC address. Okay. Next one. Sorry. Next one is the checkpoint. So what is checkpoint? You already heard about it quite a lot from our different presentations, and they were going to talk about nano agent. So what is the main problem and why we want to hack into CCTV system? So it could be used for DDoS attacks. So in case of multiple devices are trying to, like if you're going to hack into many cameras, you can use those cameras or NVRs to attack specific device like a server, okay? Or you can run some kind of malware software that is going to be intercepting or changing the way the device is working. Or the most important part, you can penetrate the local network. So you can use the camera, which is having a relatively small CPU, a weak CPU, to hack into the network. Okay, so this is the main problem of CCTV. And the other brand solution is once this kind of vulnerability found in their equipment that enables to access and penetrate into the local network, then they are going to release some kind of firmware update. Okay, and then all the customers need to be notified and they need to update those cameras or NVRs. And this is quite a lot, it's quite time-consuming process and cost a lot of money and human power to do that. So if we're going to look at graphically, and this I hope is going to help you when you demonstrate it to your customers. So when other brands or cameras and VRs are having access by user and password, then you can do whatever you want. You can do changing configuration, you can access the video and whatever. You have the access to the device as you wish. But again, if you have some kind of hack into this device outside of the network or inside the network by using some unique ways to get information or start changing the configuration of this device or running some commands that can change the behavior of this device, then the hacker can start using this hack and this vulnerability to change the behavior of this device. Now, looking on this from graphical way, so this is a demonstration use. So we are hacking here into some kind of device using pre-configured exploit, which is going to open the operation of this device, and then we can do whatever we wish. So we see once we run this code, we are inside the device, and now it can be changed. We can run any you wish, and we can start even attacking other devices or getting into the network from this device. Now, when we're talking about Provision-ISR, Provision-ISR is protected by checkpoint. So it means that checkpoint is monitoring all the operations of this device. It's actually, basically, it's monitoring the operating system and making sure that no deviation from this operation system main activity is going to be done. So even if somebody is going to find some kind of exploit of our equipment in the future, still checkpoint is going to make sure that it's protected even if this hacking attempt is executed. Okay, so checkpoint, our nano agent using checkpoint is actually using those different four methods: anti-shell ejection or control flow, which we're going to talk about, and file system protection and import table protection. So basically, we are using those methods inside checkpoint to enhance our cybersecurity, and from different type of attacks that not even yet exposed or found out. So those attacks that we are not yet familiar with are called zero-day attacks. So it's the attacks that are future, be possible, implemented to hack into the equipment. So just for you to understand the difference between checkpoint nano agent and, for example, antivirus that you have on a computer. So computer is basically working with a different way. It means that you have many different applications like Outlook and different software that you're running on it. And those different applications with the operating system are always in different interaction. So antivirus is basically mandatory on such a computer because it's looking for specific sequence, for specific virus that is going to attack and change the behavior of the computer. Therefore, it's much more dynamic environment that needs to be protected. Now, in case of CCTV, of our devices, of our NVR and cameras, this is basically a very closed environment equipment. That means that it's doing only one simple operation. It's either streaming the video, or it's recording the video, or it's analyzing some kind of events. So in this case, a checkpoint a nano agent that we apply in our devices is basically monitoring this behavior. So there is going to be no deviation from this specific behavior. So any abnormal behavior is going to be detected and immediately stopped. Okay. So, for example, if you're talking about control flow integrity, so it means that checkpoint took all of our code and detected every line and understood how those lines interact between those, how different models inside this equipment is interacting. And anytime it's going to detect some kind of deviation from this flow, it's going immediately to detect that there is some kind of malware or shell injection. It's going to block it. Okay, so that means that this nano agent is even prepared for the future. So zero-day attack that is going to be maybe in the future on our equipment is going to be blocked by checkpoint. This is why we can say and state that we don't need to update our equipment so frequently related to the cyber protection, because it's already developed for the future as well. Now, I will show you some demonstrations that can help you in the future when you discuss with the customers. So I hope you can hear the sound, because this is exactly where I'm going to need it. So we enable the checkpoint, and we are going to try to hack into the system. So this is our equipment, and we're hacking into it. Okay, so what we are going to do, we're going to run a specific code that is supposed to hack into the system, but the checkpoint is on. So once I'm running this code, checkpoint is stopping it. Again, for you, it's just a line, but this is basically how the agent detected that there was some shell injection. You can see the shell injection here. And immediately he stops all the operation, and this hacking attempt is stopped. Okay, so this is something that can help you illustrate the checkpoint activity and explain it to the customers. Now, for you to be able to explain what is the additional benefits of using checkpoint when it's running on NVR, you can see that there was some hacking attempt. So if you go to operation log, you can filter it, and you can see that there were some hacking attempts on your system, and you can find it by log. You can open the log and see what happened, and you can filter by it, as I already mentioned. And we can open one of them and see what exactly was the attempt. Now, something that we are developing and it's not yet implemented, it's how we're going to react to those attempts. We're going to have a list here of different triggers that you've been using already in many occasions in your analytics. So you're going to get push notification about this kind of cyber attack, email, message pop-up on the NVR, and you can even trigger alarm output. So it's going to be connected to some siren, and you will hear that somebody tried to attack you. Okay, so I will finish this presentation by just explaining you graphically how I'm trying to explain you on top of everything we showed you on our cyber protection different methods. I would like to enhance the cyber protection of checkpoint specifically. So if you look at the NVR or camera, you will need to understand that the checkpoint main operation is to protect the operation system of the device. Okay. So besides all the measures and the methods that I showed you previously, even if the hacker will try to access and hack the device, he will need to go through different protection layers. So the first layer, in order to hack the device and to get into the device itself and start changing its code and its behavior, you need to be physically near the device. So again, I'm talking about even before we had cooperation with the checkpoint, you had to do some very complicated operations in order to hack into our device if you're not using specifically user and password of the device itself. So the hacking itself, again, you need to be physically near the device itself, near the camera or the NVR. I'm talking about network access. So you need to be in the same LAN. Secondly, you need to have a hardware key. That this is something that is used only in our company. So this is some kind of key that we hold in our company, and only development team has access to such a key. And on top of it, you need to use our internal software to have both the user and password admin of the device itself, okay, as it was defined in the device. And you need to use our software again with a hardware key together to generate a root password. The root password, when you're getting inside of it, then you can change and do everything you want inside NVR or the camera. You can rewrite its code, you can do whatever operation you wish. And again, we're talking about hacking the device, and from the device, you can do whatever you want, and you can change the whole operation system of the device. Now, once you are even there and you are trying to hack all those layers and you somehow succeeded to overcome all those difficulties, again, Checkpoint is going to protect the core of this device, of the operating system, and is going to block and prevent any attempt of this kind. Okay, so this is a graphical way to explain you what levels we had previously and what is the additional layer that Checkpoint enables us as the highest level of protection. So why Checkpoint? So if you check the market and see the benchmarks of other devices like Fortinet and others, you will see that they have the highest rate of prevention. So 0 days, that's what I was talking about. They have a very high level of protection and they are very good in cybersecurity specifically. And therefore, we are very proud that we are using their nano agent in our equipment. So what we talked about is all those different measures of cyber protection, and you can see that we talked about each one of them, and they are embedded into our equipment, and you can use and enable each one of those. And on top of it, when we start communicating with a checkpoint and we implemented their protection, we send our devices to a BACSEC laboratory, which is doing the penetration tests, and they tested our equipment and they actually gave us a list, and it was a very good report. And even on those two lines that I'm showing below, that there are some unsuccessful protection or not fully protected equipment based on those report lines, they actually mentioned that those specific problems or outlines can be resolved by just using the methods I just showed you previously. Okay, so this is a matter of configuration of our equipment. That's it, guys. I hope that you learned something new. And again, this presentation can be used for you later on. So you can show it to your customers and explain what are the benefits of Provision-ISR cyber protection. Ami, your turn.
Yes, thank you very much. One thing I will say that this penetration test is many times required by the user. They want to see you tell them about all these security levels and checkpoint, and they don't know the name checkpoint and so on. And they want to know if Provision-ISR has been done any penetration test. BACSEC is a very respectable laboratory in the industry of pen test. It's called PAN test in the technical term of it, penetration test. Bugsec is a leading company in this. I think it's a European company. They do a lot of similar tests to different equipment. We asked them and paid for their services to issue such a report. The report was amazing, as we expected it to be. They didn't manage to penetrate the product at all, and they tried a lot. Any type of attempt they made in order to penetrate the product was blocked by the Checkpoint Nano agent. They did manage to do 2 attempts, like you see in the bottom. But again, they also reported that those attempts is a matter of setting by the end user. If the user is doing the right settings, then even those attempts are being blocked by Provision-ISR. So this pen test is available for you in case you will need to present it to a third-party customer or an end user that requires such a thing. Is available for you, and it's prove exactly what we are trying always to explain. Very well. Thank you very much for that, Ilan. As you saw, Provision-ISR cybersecurity is not only checkpoint. There are many layers into cybersecurity. Existing elements already have settings, and it's all about knowing what you need to be done, and you can provide more and more and more layers of cybersecurity. The more settings you do, some of them we explained here, the more secured product you can deliver to your product. And checkpoint is an extra layer that really, even if the attacker managed to go through everything, still we've got checkpoint to protect the core data and the core product. Thank you very much for joining. We're gonna close our recording and continue on.